I'm willing to say that it feels like the Nationals will call Mike DeBartolo the full-time GM at some point this offseason, but they still have to do their due diligence. And what does a due diligence look like for the Nationals? I'll lay that out after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. And later on in today's show, we have got a Mackenzie Gore day after Brad Lord had his day for the Washington Nationals yesterday. We'll talk about yesterday's big loss against the Yankees and also look ahead to today's game in the third segment with Mackenzie Gore going up against a potential very good matchup for him. We'll talk about that later on. And in the second segment, I said that there is a plan for the Washington Nationals, and I've got, I think, a pretty good plan for what they should do with the front office. Stay tuned and listen to that because I've got some names that you'll want to watch for this offseason. But we start off discussing the GM Mike DeBartolo. And I think I'm willing to say right now that it feels as if the Washington Nationals will be moving forward with Mike DeBartolo as the GM. I'll tell you why, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. So we get started discussing today's topic at hand. And right now, I feel as if Mike DeBartolo is going to be the guy for the job for the Washington Nationals this offseason. Now, I was on record as soon as they made this decision to move off of Mike Rizzo and they put in Mike DeBartolo. I like Mike DeBartolo. I think that Mike DeBartolo has put in a ton of work behind the scenes that I think a lot of common people may not really understand. And the hand that he has had in many big-time decisions, including the Juan Soto trade and things like analytics in the background and all different kinds of player development issues, whatever may have it, Mike DeBartolo has had his hand in many different baskets surrounding the Washington Nationals. But I wanted someone from outside the organization. I wanted someone to have a new voice. I wanted someone who maybe has done this for a little bit of time now and has had success. But as far as my main boxes of what I wanted check, I've always wanted a younger guy, and I also want someone who's into analytics. Mike DeBartolo checks both those boxes right now. My only issue with DeBartolo is that it is within the organization. Now, that might be selfish and foolish for some to say, because Mike DeBartolo is not just some chump here. Mike DeBartolo is a very good, bright baseball executive who, if it's not going to work here, I would be willing to bet that this would work elsewhere, and that Mike DeBartolo would get a GM job elsewhere and maybe in a smaller market and maybe even a bigger market. I think Mike DeBartolo belongs. But I also think what this team needs is a fresh voice. So, there is a world in which you could get both. There is a world out there where you could have a fresh voice, yet also keep Mike DeBartolo as one of your main decision makers. Mike DeBartolo was the de facto assistant GM under Mike Rizzo here. Mike Rizzo was the president of baseball operations / general manager. If you look around baseball nowadays, it's pretty rare for front office personnel to hold both those titles nowadays. Not many GMs out there hold the president and the GM title. Typically, the way an organization is has their hierarchy is obviously the president is at the top for baseball operations, But then it goes to the general manager. And the general manager is the one who kind of shops around for the ingredients. And the president kind of gives them the direction of what they want. And then the GM goes to the president, and the president signs off on it and goes up to the ownership level. That's kind of the hierarchy that you expect in a baseball front office. Right now, to get what I want, but to also get what's in best needs for the Washington Nationals, might be hiring Mike DeBartolo as your full-time GM, but then pairing him up with a more experienced, well-known president of baseball operations. Kind of have that true hierarchy in which, honestly, this organization needs. This organization needs a fresh voice. Unfortunately, Mike DeBartolo cannot provide that. While he has provided that in the long term, or in the short term, rather, I'm not sure if he's going to be the guy moving forward where you can say, this is going to be our main decision maker, and he's going to be the voice of the baseball operations department. That is not a knock on Mike DeBartolo. Again, I think he is a very bright, baseball-minded guy who would be a great hire for this team. But I also need that fresh voice. You need someone to kind of come in here and run the baseball operations. Because one thing with Mike DeBartolo is that he really does not have that much experience surrounding baseball operations. Yeah, he's got a decade plus within the front office here in DC. But what does that really do? Because yes, he saw a lot of successful runs and he oversaw a lot of successful moves for this Nats team while he's been with this front office. But also, you kind of need to blow that old thing up. And he, unfortunately, is a part of that old thing. Now, one thing that we have loved about DeBartolo is that he is obviously different from Mike Rizzo. And this is not to say Mike Rizzo is a bad executive, by the way. There's no one who backed Mike Rizzo more than I did over years and years and years. But Mike DeBartolo brings that analytics side of things. The thing that we have been looking for, and quite frankly, that we have been praising and hoping what would happen here in DC eventually would come into fruition. Mike DeBartolo has kind of helped bring that. Because over the second half of this season, with Mike DeBartolo at the helm of things, you have seen a different approach. You have seen them use analytics in many different ways. As of recent, you've seen James Wood in the leadoff spot. You can see that the Nationals are using these things and using them correctly. But also on that flip side of the coin is having a fresh new voice in the building. And having that fresh new voice in the building will resonate with a lot of different things. The players, the coaching staff, the front office, and most importantly, the ownership. Spencer Nussbaum of the Washington Post wrote a great piece of Mike DeBartolo, kind of detailing what he has been doing and kind of the different roles that he has had, coming from Tufts University and working as like a financial advisor before jumping into the winter meetings in 2012, searching around, trying to get hired by many different clubs. And Mike Rizzo and the Washington Nationals took a chance on him. And he has just climbed up the organization ladder since then. Mike DeBartolo is a great story. And Mike DeBartolo might be a great executive someday. But we also still need that fresh voice. And I think both those things can be true and can stay true, by the way. If the Nationals do indeed go with Mike DeBartolo this offseason, which at this point, it feels like that they will be doing that, then also hire a president of baseball operations. Then also get that new voice in there. Because you can have your crown jewel with Mike DeBartolo, who may be the next hot thing. But you also need that new voice in the building. And someone who can kind of go into a meeting with DeBartolo and maybe have two different sides and two different opinions on baseball, but also get along and find that new kind of path to hopefully a much better team moving forward. Because there are ways that the Nationals can improve within 2 years and totally flip the script on what we believe at some times may be a failing rebuild. You can do that. And teams have done it, especially as of recent. And fortunately enough for the Washington Nationals, there are a lot of hot, young names on that president market who might be good fits for the Washington Nationals. And let me tell you this, I've got some real good scenarios for Nationals fans that we'll discuss right after this. August 26th, today is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. I'm up bright and early for FanDuel's Futures Day. I've already placed a bet on the Tennessee Titans to win the AFC South. I'm telling you, do not sleep on Cam Ward, but then also my guy, your guy, and everyone's guy, Jaden Daniels. The future of MVPs is right here in DC. I've got a futures bet on him winning the 2026 MVP, and alongside a Commanders Super Bowl prop, and also a Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt Rookie of the Year prop. Unbelievable, but you can do that with our friends at FanDuel. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because FanDuel Futures Day is one day and one day only, and the clock is ticking. So make sure to take ahead and go ahead and play FanDuel, because FanDuel is the number one sports book in America. FanDuel, play your game. So as we mentioned that the Washington Nationals have some big moves to make this offseason, if the Nationals do decide to keep GM Mike DeBartolo, I want them to also get a new voice in the building, in which would be a president of baseball operations. So the hierarchy would look like the top would be ex-president of baseball operations, meaning whatever name out there, and then right under him is GM Mike DeBartolo. Well, it's August, but there are some names for the Washington Nationals that could make this happen, that are from outside the organization, and some that have really impressive track records here. My number one guy for the Nationals to target this offseason is Jeff Greenberg, the general manager of the Detroit Tigers, who has totally transformed that Tigers front office and has totally transformed their rebuild. If you look back a few years ago, we were sitting here on this show discussing the Tigers being a complete fail of a rebuild, something that took nearly a decade plus. Then you hire a new president and you hire a new GM, Jeff Greenberg, and now we look at the Tigers as one of the most successful organizations in baseball in just a few seasons. No one is talking about this, but what the Tigers have done recently is all due to what they have done with their front office. And the things that they continue to do on the field and down at the minor league levels is incredible. This is one of the better organizations in baseball today, thanks to Jeff Greenberg, their general manager. He has worked in a bevy of different situations. He has actually even worked, I believe, back in the day with the Chicago Blackhawks. He has also worked 11 years to help build up the Chicago Cubs and kind of help oversaw their scouting department and oversaw development with them, and also helped them win the 2016 World Series trophy. That would be the sexiest hire for the Washington Nationals. And again, it's a very similar situation to right here in the nation's capital. This is a rebuild that a lot of us believe might be failing, or might even already has failed. But you can kind of really kickstart this thing with someone who has been there and has done that quite literally. A bigger market team with Detroit that was not really spending, then all of a sudden was spending, but also really developed and went heavy into analytics. And the Tigers now have a top 5 farm system in baseball. They've got a top 15 payroll, and they've got a ton of studs everywhere, including the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. That is a great organization right now. And getting the GM, Jeff Greenberg, to be the Nationals president of baseball operations moving forward would be the slammest of dunks this offseason for the Nationals. That would be a massive get for this organization. So he is my number one guy to really kind of hone in on this offseason. And I sit there every single day and hope that Jeff Greenberg is the president of baseball operations for this ball club moving forward. And I hope that you feel the same way. My number two guy, Mike Chernoff, the general manager of the Guardians, he would be a great president. And I think, honestly, might fill all my buckets in a way that others simply would not. Number one, he is a young guy. Mike Chernoff's around his 40s. And also number two, has been the GM for 10 plus years in Cleveland. And they have had a ton of success at this point. He had that 2016 World Series run, but also they have been perennial contenders in the American League. They have owned the American League Central for years now at this point. And Cleveland, while you might joke about it, that is a very good baseball front office and a very good organization with the way that they are structured. They are given a terrible hand in Cleveland. Again, small market team. They're not going out there spending a ton of money in free agency. In fact, they're always in the bottom 12 as far as payroll goes, and that's kind of where they belong. Yet they continue to turn out the best prospects. They continue to make savvy trades. They continue to be really aggressive in the free agency market, and maybe not signing those big name guys, but they also worked a deal to keep Jose Ramirez, which was, by the way, a team-friendly deal, and it has worked out very well for them so far. Mike Chernoff brings experience. He brings analytics, and he brings that youth kind of thing that I've been wanting. He would be a big name guy to land, honestly. And quite frankly, the fact that he has been with the Guardians for 10 plus years now and has not been plucked to be a president of baseball operations elsewhere is quite insane to me. It really does not make any sense. So there's a part of me that wonders, like, maybe he's complacent in Cleveland and that's just where he wants to be. But what am I missing here? Because plenty of guys have been hired to be president of baseball operations since then. But Mike Chernoff, while he has been interviewed for such jobs, has yet to be hired. It makes no sense to me. So there's kind of something there that I'm like, okay, maybe he's not the best interviewer or whatever it could be. I have questions surrounding that. But he would be a great hire in my opinion. Again, he has done it with the rebuild. He turns out prospects. He's into analytics, and he checks that young box for me. I would hire him in a heartbeat. And in fact, he might be the biggest name for the Nationals this offseason. And maybe Jeff Greenberg of the Tigers, who is my personal number one guy, might not be that at this time for the Nationals. And maybe a more experienced Mike Chernoff could be that guy for the Nationals to land that president of baseball operations role. My number three guy, but certainly not third and last, is Brandon Gomes, the general manager and vice president of the LA Dodgers. He was a director of player development in 2018. He was then hired as the assistant GM and was hired as the general manager for the Dodgers back in 2022. Listen, if you're a Dodgers front office executive, I want you to be my GM. The Dodgers are the best organization in baseball, and quite frankly, they might be the best organization in sports today. They are awesome from top all the way down to the bottom. Ownership is great. Front office is great. Their clubhouse is great. Their manager is great. Their players are great. Their field is great. Their state, everything about the Dodgers in wearing their Dodger blue is great. Brandon Gomes brings that youthful, analytical, young, kind of just sexy hire that the Nationals really need. And again, coming from successful organizations might be kind of a little bit of a tell here, but that's important to me. And I think for obvious reasons. We need that. We need kind of like that hopefulness and also that outside perspective of which the Nationals have kind of had this tight-knit front office for a long time here in DC, You kind of need that fresh voice to come in there and pierce right through some of those different ways that the Nationals have thought of for years. Brandon Gomes brings that fresh insight. He brings that fresh perspective of which maybe everything would be okay. In holding that GM title for the last few seasons here, the Dodgers obviously won the World Series last year. They again have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. They've had one of the best farm systems in all of baseball for quite some time, and they continue to make savvy move after savvy move. If you're telling me that you want a Dodgers executive, Brandon Gomes would be the guy who holds the vice president title, by the way, under Andrew Friedman. But Brandon Gomes would be such a sexy hire for the Washington Nationals. And quite frankly, between all three of these guys, he even might be the number one guy to watch this offseason. Now, it would take a lot, I think, for him to jump ship and lead the Dodgers at this point. But if I'm the Nationals, take that risk. One thing is clear with this team, everybody. I like Mike DeBartolo as a GM. If he's the main decision maker going forward, I would just hope that you would really kind of cast a wide field of many different options here. But you also have to try to get someone from elsewhere. And if you want Mike DeBartolo in town as your GM, you can have that, and I would be thrilled with it. But have that president of baseball operations as well. Have someone to kind of guide a young general manager who may be a star in the making with Mike DeBartolo and help him and also help us. Having that president of baseball operations void filled would be a big get for the Nationals. And fortunately enough for them, there's big names on the market. So let's make it happen. And the Nationals, they might be the ones to make that happen. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. Let's get back to reality. The Washington Nationals played last night, but they also played tonight against the New York Yankees. We will talk about that game after this. And yes, there is time. It is time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for your sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor that you love without ever leaving the green. And the wildest shot that I have ever made was actually this past weekend while I was playing 18 holes, but also right after I had my 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Not only did I believe that it helped me give me that the energy to make that shot, but also made the shot way more fun. And then, of course, I had a second one later, and I played 36 holes all weekend long. And even on this hot summer day, there's nothing more refreshing than that lime flavor of a 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. So golf is all about good times with good people and also good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more and just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip to any golf tournament in the USA and tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase is necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament, and this contest ends October 31st, 2025. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So the Washington Nationals unfortunately lost last night 10-5, but I will say this, I got to shout him out because we have been very hard on this guy for the Washington Nationals. How about Jacob Young hitting a grand slam last night? I mean, unbelievable. I will say this, though. I like Jacob Young. Again, he's my fourth outfielder of the future. But in that short ballpark, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, that was just, it was incredible to see that, honestly. I mean, it was the ninth inning. I mean, it was later on in the game. And, you know, it was kind of cool to see Jacob Young get a hold of one, 393 feet there into right center field. I mean, he crushed that baseball. So the Nationals just have a thing for young players hitting home runs. I think back to 2018 with Juan Soto crushing a ball like 430 feet at Yankee Stadium and like his first at bat there. Those are some of the memories that come up with the New York Yankees playing at Yankee Stadium. So that was really cool to see with Jacob Young last night. But tonight you've got Mackenzie Gore, the Nationals ace on the bump, and this is going to be a fun matchup. The must-see, one of the most anticipated matchups for the Nationals this season is going to be Aaron Judge going up against Mackenzie Gore. And I cannot wait. Mackenzie Gore going up against Judge, who is the MVP of this season. I mean, he is incredible with an 1,100 OPS. He is batting north of 300. He is the game's best hitter today. And it's not even close. I mean, 40 home runs this season, 93 ribbies. Aaron Judge is just the best player on the planet. And going up against the Nationals' best offer here against Mackenzie Gore, that lefty-righty matchup is scary because Aaron Judge crushes any pitcher, but he crushes left-handed pitching. Unfortunately for Mackenzie Gore, this is the one guy that you have to circle on today's lineup card. If you are going to win, it's because you kept Aaron Judge out of the green grass in the outfield. You have to keep him in check. And fortunately enough, I do think the Nationals can do that. Now, here's the bad thing for the Nationals, is you're going up against Luis Gil, who has been very inconsistent all season long. And when there's inconsistencies there, it's kind of hard to project what he could be. And also, he's only gone up against one Washington National, and that's Paul DeJong, who's over 2 at the walk. This is a complete unknown tonight. And Mackenzie Gore has gone up against many different of these guys with the Yankees here. But right now, the Nationals honestly just need to get back in the swing of things. They need a Mackenzie Gore shove start tonight, like 7 innings, 13 Ks, and 4 hits. Now, luckily for the Yankees, they are very much so in that Mets bucket of which we just played them. This is an inconsistent team. Their offense and their bullpen are wildly inconsistent. Luis Gil is exactly what we have been saying, which is inconsistent. So tonight's game is a very hard one to project. But the Nationals have got the Yankees beat in one category, and that is the pitching matchup. Mackenzie Gore is the better pitcher than Luis Gil. I think that plays well, especially against a very loaded lefty lineup with the Yankees. So with tonight's game, while again, you've got guys like Ben Rice from the left side of the plate. You've got Cody Bellinger. You're going to see Ahmed Rosario go up against Mackenzie Gore tonight, which will be a pretty fun reunion. Jazz Chisholm. You've got a Jason Dominguez in there. Another one with the guy they got at the deadline with Ryan McMahon. This is a lefty loaded lineup for the Yankees. So I think that bodes well for Mackenzie Gore and what could be a big night of strikeouts for the strikeout king here in DC. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.